In 1963, a pensioner in Sheffield could prepare a hot, satisfying dinner in less time than it took to walk to the corner shop and back. Not because she cut corners, but because she understood something we have lost entirely. These meals have vanished from our collective memory. You will not find them in restaurants. Recipe websites ignore them. Yet they fed millions of people through decades of British life, kept pensioners healthy on modest incomes, and required almost no cooking skill whatsoever. They were quick, cheap, genuinely nourishing, and designed specifically for people eating alone. Please subscribe to this channel because what follows might change how you eat. Not with complexity or exotic ingredients, but with forgotten wisdom that made eating well both possible and dignified. Let us count down 25 vintage British dinners that take 10 minutes or less and cost almost nothing. Your grandmother knew every single one. Number 25. Sardines on toast. A tin of sardines cost 5 pence in 1958. By 1970, you could still buy them for under 10 pence. Pensioners living alone kept a cupboard stocked with these tins because they required no refrigeration and could become a proper meal in under 5 minutes. Open the tin, drain some of the oil, mash the sardines roughly with a fork while bread toasts. Spread the mashed sardines onto hot toast. The heat from the toast warms the fish through. That was dinner. Sardines delivered calcium from the soft bones, omega oils for the joints, and enough protein to keep you going until morning. District nurses in the 1960s recommended sardines on toast to elderly patients living alone specifically because it required no cooking, no heating, no standing over a stove when standing felt difficult. The smell of sardines mashing into warm butter, the texture of soft fish against crisp toast, the salt and oil soaking into the bread. This was not deprivation. This was a complete meal prepared by someone who understood that elaborate cooking was not required for proper nutrition. A tin costs barely 60 pence at Lidl today, yet we reach for ready meals at 5 times the price. Your grandmother knew better. Number 24. Cheese and pickle on thick bread. Mature cheddar cost 1 shilling and 6pence per quarter pound in 1965. Branston pickle came in those distinctive glass jars for 8 pence. Working people bought both items to last the week, cutting thick slices when tired from factory shifts. Not a sandwich, not a toastie, just thick slices of mature cheddar on doorstep bread with sharp pickle spoon beside it, eaten with a knife and fork. A mug of strong tea alongside. The whole preparation took perhaps 2 minutes. Cheese provided protein and calcium. The pickle offered vinegar for digestion and vegetables preserved when fresh produce was expensive in winter months. Hospital matrons recommended cheese as a proper meal for patients discharged home to recuperate alone. That sharp, tangy pickle against the creamy, salty cheese, the substantial texture of thick bread, the ritual of sitting down with a knife and fork, eating slowly, making it an occasion rather than grabbing food over the sink. The ritual mattered as much as the food itself. Today we spend £4 on a meal deal containing a plastic sandwich, crisps and a drink. Your nan spent less than that on ingredients for 3 proper meals. This was wisdom. Number 23. Tinned tomato soup with buttered bread. Heinz tomato soup cost 7 pence per tin in 1962. A small loaf of bread cost 9 pence. Together they provided 2 filling meals for under a shilling. Pensioners stockpiled tins because tomato soup could be heated in minutes and required nothing but a saucepan. Open the tin. Pour into a saucepan. Heat gently while buttering thick slices of bread. That bright orange warmth, ready before the kettle boiled for tea. Dip the buttered bread into the hot soup. The butter melts on your tongue, mixed with sweet tomato. Nothing wasted. Tomatoes provided vitamin C even from a tin. The bread offered energy. The butter added fat needed for warmth in cold flats with expensive heating. This meal kept thousands of elderly people from skipping dinner when cooking felt like too much effort. The smell of that soup warming, the sound of bread tearing to dip, the comforting sweetness. Women's Institute handbooks from the 1950s listed tinned soup as essential store cupboard provision for members living alone, not as emergency food, but as proper nutrition requiring minimal effort. We have forgotten that ease does not mean worthless. Your grandmother understood that being tired did not mean you deserved less. This was dignity in a tin. Number 22. Baked beans on toast with a fried egg. Beans cost 6 pence per tin in 1965. One egg cost perhaps 2 pence. For 8 pence, you could prepare a hot, protein-rich meal in under 7 minutes. Factory workers ate this after long shifts. Pensioners ate it when more elaborate cooking felt impossible. Toast the bread, heat the beans, fry the egg in a small pan. Assemble. The yolk breaks and runs into the beans, creating a sauce. Sharp tomato sweetness mixed with rich egg. This combination appeared on hospital breakfast menus precisely because it delivered complete nutrition efficiently. Beans provided protein and fiber. The egg added more protein, B vitamins, and fat. The bread absorbed everything, wasting not a drop. District nurses advised this meal for patients recovering from illness who needed to rebuild strength quickly. That golden yolk breaking, the beans soaking into toast, the satisfaction of something hot and substantial. This was not poverty food. This was intelligent eating by people who understood nutrition before wellness influencers made it complicated. A tin of beans costs 35 pence today. An egg perhaps 20 pence. For 55 pence, you could eat properly. Instead, we buy ready meals for £4 that contain the same ingredients processed into unrecognizable mush. Your nan knew exactly what she was eating. Number 21. Eggy bread. One egg cost 2 pence in 1958. 2 slices of bread cost less than a penny. In under 5 minutes, you could transform stale bread into a hot meal. This was not French toast with cinnamon and maple syrup. This was protein-enriched bread for people who needed sustenance, not Instagram photographs. Beat an egg in a shallow bowl. Add a pinch of salt. Dip thick slices of bread into the egg mixture, ensuring both sides coat thoroughly. Fry in butter or dripping until golden brown on both sides. Eat immediately while hot. Some added a splash of Worcestershire sauce. Some ate it plain. The egg added protein to plain bread. Frying made stale bread palatable again, wasting nothing. Hospital kitchens served eggy bread to patients who struggled with solid food because it was easy to chew and digest while still being nourishing. The crisp golden exterior giving way to soft custardy interior. The savoury richness. The steam rising from the centre. Working mothers made this for themselves after the family had eaten, standing at the stove with a cup of tea, taking 5 minutes of quiet before tackling the washing up. We throw away stale bread. Your grandmother transformed it. This was not deprivation. This was intelligence. Number 20. Tinned mackerel with bread and butter. Mackerel in tomato sauce cost 8 pence per tin in 1965. Unlike sardines, mackerel came in larger pieces, making it feel more substantial. Pensioners bought tins on market day when they were reduced. Open the tin. Arrange the mackerel pieces on a plate. Slice bread thickly. Butter it. Eat the mackerel with the bread, using the bread to mop up the tomato sauce from the plate. The whole meal took 3 minutes to assemble. Mackerel delivered even more omega oils than sardines, protecting the heart and joints. The tomato sauce provided vitamins. The bread and butter added energy and fat for warmth. Nutritional advice pamphlets from the 1960s specifically mentioned tinned fish as essential protein for elderly people living alone. That rich, oily fish, the soft texture, the tangy tomato sauce, the satisfaction of cleaning your plate completely, wasting nothing. Women eating alone in small flats found dignity in this simplicity. A proper meal, a clean plate, purpose to the day. Today we barely know mackerel exists outside fish and chip shops. Your grandmother kept tins in her cupboard as routinely as we keep pasta. She understood that eating well alone meant making it easy enough to bother with. Number 19. Shippam's paste on toast. Those small jars of meat and fish paste cost under $1 in the 1960s. A jar lasted days. Salmon paste, chicken paste, bloater paste, crab paste. You spread them thinly on hot toast, and that was tea. Toast bread, spread paste directly from the jar. No preparation required, no cooking, no washing up beyond a plate and knife. For elderly people with arthritis or limited mobility, this was not laziness. This was accessibility. The paste contained concentrated protein in a form that required no chewing. Hospital discharge advice often mentioned paste on toast for patients recovering from dental surgery or stomach ailments. The strong flavors stimulated appetite in people who had lost interest in food. That intense, salty taste, the smooth texture, the warmth of fresh toast beneath, the ease of opening a jar and creating something that felt like proper food. This mattered more than we understand now. When you live alone, making the effort to eat properly requires motivation. Simplicity removes the barrier. Shippam's still exists, but we treat it as vintage novelty rather than practical nutrition. Number 18. Bovril on toast. A jar of Bovril cost 9p in 1960 and lasted weeks. You spread it thinly on hot buttered toast, the heat releasing that distinctive beefy aroma. This appeared in Women's Institute handbooks as a recommended light evening meal. Toast bread. Butter it while hot. Spread Bovril very thinly. The heat melts the Bovril into the butter, creating a rich, savoury coating. Some added a slice of cheese on top. Most ate it plain with a cup of tea. Bovril was concentrated beef stock, providing protein, B vitamins and salt. Hospital kitchens used it to make beef tea for patients too weak to eat solid food. District nurses recommended Bovril toast for elderly patients who had lost appetite because the strong flavour could stimulate interest in eating. That deep, meaty warmth, the salt and umami on your tongue, the comfort of something hot and savoury. On cold evenings in flats with expensive heating, Bovril toast provided internal warmth for pennies. This was not a snack. This was strategic nutrition. We have forgotten that concentration of flavour matters. Your grandmother understood that a 9p jar could deliver satisfaction for weeks. She was spending less and eating better than we do now. Here is where things get interesting. The meals so far have been simple, almost primitive in their ease. No cooking beyond making toast, no preparation beyond opening tins. But our grandmothers knew that quick did not have to mean boring. The next entries show how a little cleverness could transform basic ingredients into something that felt more substantial. Number 17. Packet soup with crusty bread and butter. Packet soups, oxtail, chicken, tomato, vegetable, cost 6p each in 1965. One packet made enough soup for 2 meals. Pensioners bought them by the dozen because they stored indefinitely and required only boiling water. Boil a kettle, pour the powder into a mug or bowl. Add boiling water, stir. Within 2 minutes, you had hot soup. Serve with crusty bread and butter for dipping. The entire preparation required only a kettle and a spoon. These soups contain dried vegetables, protein, and sodium. Nutritional advice from the period acknowledged they were not as nourishing as fresh soup, but they prevented people from skipping meals entirely. That mattered more than perfect nutrition. District nurses knew that some dinner was better than no dinner when patients felt too weak to cook. The instant warmth spreading through your body. The satisfaction of dipping bread into something hot. The ritual of sitting down with a bowl and spoon. This cost 6 pence in 1965. It costs perhaps 50 pence now. Yet we buy takeaway soup for £4 from chain restaurants. Your grandmother was not fooled. She knew she was drinking powdered soup, but she also knew she was eating properly. Number 16. Grilled cheese on toast. Not cheese on toast under the grill. Grilled cheese fried in a pan like eggy bread. This technique appeared in Women's Institute collections, but has vanished completely from modern British cooking. Cut thick slices of cheese, place them between 2 pieces of buttered bread, butter on the outside. Fry in a hot pan until golden and crisp, turning once. The cheese melts between the bread. Eat immediately while the cheese stretches between bites. The frying transformed stale bread into something special. The melted cheese provided protein and calcium. Working mothers made this for themselves after the family had eaten, creating something satisfying in minutes. It required no grill, no oven, just a frying pan and 5 minutes. That crispy, buttery exterior, the hot, melted cheese inside, the satisfaction of something that felt indulgent but cost perhaps 5 pence. This was not American grilled cheese with processed cheese slices. This was mature cheddar on proper bread, fried until golden. We have imported grilled cheese from America and forgotten we had our own version first. Your grandmother made hers in a frying pan because she had no money for novelty appliances. Her version was better. Number 15. Spam fritter with bread and butter. A tin of spam cost 1 shilling and 3 pence in 1965. One tin provided 4 slices, meaning 4 separate meals. People made fritters by frying spam slices until crispy. No batter, no flour, just meat fried until the edges caramelized. Cut thick slices of spam. Fry in a hot pan with minimal fat. The spam releases its own, until dark golden brown and crispy at the edges. This took about 4 minutes. Serve on bread with butter and perhaps a spoonful of pickle. The frying rendered out excess fat and crisped the exterior while keeping the interior tender. This provided substantial protein for under 4 pence per serving. Hospital kitchens fried spam for patients who needed protein but struggled with tough meat. The soft texture made it accessible for elderly people with dental problems. That crispy, salty exterior. The soft ham-like interior. The contrast between the rich meat and plain bread. Women living alone made this at the end of the week when fresh meat was finished, but shopping day had not yet arrived. This was not poverty. This was planning. Today we mock spam as war food, forgetting that it fed Britain through rationing and beyond. Your grandmother knew it was reliable protein that cost pennies and kept for weeks. She was correct. Number 14. Corned beef hash. A tin of corned beef cost 1 shilling in 1965. 1 large potato cost 2 pence. Together they made a hot, filling meal in under 10 minutes. Working families ate this on weeknights. Pensioners ate it when they wanted something more substantial than toast. Dice a potato into small cubes. Boil in salted water for 6 minutes until just tender. Meanwhile, dice corned beef. Drain the potato. In a hot pan with a little fat, fry the potato cubes until they start crisping. Add the corned beef. Fry together until the beef warms through and the potato is golden. Some added onion if available. Most kept it simple. The potato provided carbohydrates. The corned beef delivered protein and fat. This was a complete meal: protein, vegetables, energy for under 1 shilling and 4 pence. Hospital discharge advice mentioned corned beef hash as a recommended meal for patients returning home to cook for themselves. That crispy potato, the salty, rich beef, the satisfaction of something hot and substantial. This required more effort than sardines on toast, but not much more. 10 minutes from start to finish. One pan, one plate, nothing wasted. We buy frozen hash browns and pre-cooked meats, spending 3 times the money for inferior results. Your grandmother made hers from scratch in the same time it takes to heat a ready meal. Number 13. Jug poached kippers. A pair of kippers cost 1 shilling in 1960. They were sold loose at markets for a few pence per quarter pound. People ate them for tea rather than breakfast because they were filling enough for a main meal. Most families could not afford proper poaching pans, so they developed this method instead. Place a kipper in a tall jug or heat-proof pitcher. Boil a kettle. Pour boiling water over the kipper until covered. Leave for 5 minutes. The kipper poaches in the hot water. Remove carefully, drain, place on a plate with bread and butter. The jug method produced no cooking smell, which mattered in small flats. Kippers delivered complete protein, omega oils, and vitamin D. District nurses recommended kippers for elderly patients specifically because they required no actual cooking, just hot water. For people who feared stovetop cooking or had limited mobility, this was accessible protein. That smoky, salty flavor, the tender fish flaking easily, the butter melting on the hot fish, the simplicity of preparation that made it possible rather than daunting. This cost 1 shilling in 1960. It costs perhaps £2 now for 2 kippers, yet we ignore them completely, buying plastic-wrapped fish fingers instead. Your grandmother poached kippers in a jug because it was clever. We should remember how. Number 12. Tinned spaghetti on toast. Heinz spaghetti and tomato sauce cost 7 pence per tin in 1965. Children ate it for tea. Adults living alone ate it for dinner. It appeared on hospital menus and in packed lunch suggestions. Not fancy, not exotic, just reliable, quick nutrition. Open the tin. Heat in a saucepan or directly in the tin if you placed it carefully on the stove. Toast bread while it heats. Pour hot spaghetti onto toast. Grate cheese over the top if you had it. Most ate it plain. The spaghetti provided carbohydrates. The tomato sauce delivered vitamins. The toast added more energy. This was a complete carbohydrate-based meal requiring no cooking skill whatsoever. Nutritional pamphlets from the 1960s acknowledged tinned spaghetti as acceptable nutrition for people who struggle to cook from scratch. That sweet tomato sauce, the soft pasta, the texture of it all soaking into hot toast. Working mothers fed this to their families on washing day when cooking felt impossible. Nobody complained. It was hot, filling, cheap, and required almost no effort. We spend £3 on takeaway pasta containing the same ingredients. Your grandmother spent 7 pence. Number 11. Boiled egg with soldiers. Eggs cost 2 pence each in 1960. Bread cost less than a penny per slice. For less than 3 pence, you could prepare a proper hot meal in exactly 6 minutes. Pensioners ate this for tea. Hospital matrons recommended it for patients discharged home to recuperate. Boil an egg for exactly 6 minutes for a runny yolk. Meanwhile, toast bread and cut into soldiers. Place the egg in an egg cup. Slice off the top. Dip soldiers into the golden yolk. That was dinner. The egg provided complete protein, B vitamins, and healthy fat. The bread gave energy. The hot yolk created a sauce that made plain toast luxurious. This meal required no cooking skill, just timing. For elderly people living alone, that simplicity removed the barrier to eating properly. That golden yolk running onto the plate, the satisfaction of dipping, the ritual of using an egg cup and proper timing. This was not a child's meal. This was efficient nutrition that treated the diner with respect. A proper plate, proper cutlery, a sense of occasion even when eating alone. Restaurants charge £8 for eggs on toast now, calling it brunch. Your grandmother ate the same thing for 3p. She understood that simple food prepared with care was proper food. We have forgotten that lesson entirely. Number 10. Marmite on toast with cheese. A jar of Marmite cost 9p in 1960 and lasted for months. Combined with a slice of cheese, it became a complete savoury meal. This appeared in nutritional advice pamphlets as a recommended tea for people who struggled with meat. Toast bread. Spread Marmite thinly while the toast is hot. Place a slice of cheese on top. The heat from the toast begins melting the cheese. Eat immediately while the cheese is soft. Some placed it under the grill for 30 seconds to melt the cheese fully. Most did not bother. Marmite contained concentrated B vitamins and protein from yeast extract. Cheese added more protein, calcium and fat. Together they created a complete meal for under 3p. Hospital kitchens served this to vegetarian patients specifically because it delivered protein without meat. That sharp, salty Marmite against creamy cheese. The contrast between the two intense flavours. The texture of soft cheese on crisp toast. This was polarising. People either loved or hated Marmite, but those who loved it ate this regularly, understanding that strong flavours made simple food interesting. We buy expensive cheese boards and forget that cheese on toast is the same ingredients assembled differently. Your grandmother ate her cheese with Marmite on toast and called it tea. She was correct. Number 9. Fried bread with baked beans. Leftover dripping from the Sunday roast sat in a bowl in the pantry all week. On Tuesday or Wednesday, when the roast meat was finished, women fried bread in that dripping and served it with beans. This preserved the taste of the roast through the week. Heat dripping in a pan until it melts. Fry thick slices of bread until golden and crisp. Meanwhile, heat beans in a saucepan. Serve the beans on the fried bread. The meat fat from the dripping flavoured the bread with the memory of Sunday's roast. The dripping provided animal fat needed for warmth and energy. The beans gave protein and fibre. The bread soaked up everything. This meal recycled Sunday's meat into Wednesday's dinner, wasting nothing. Women's Institute handbook specifically discussed using dripping throughout the week to make plain food more satisfying. That rich, meaty flavour from the dripping, the crispy bread, the sweet beans, the sense of extending Sunday's plenty through the week. This was not making do. This was strategic cooking that maximised expensive ingredients. Number 8. Fried onions with bread and cheese. Onions cost 3p per pound in 1965. One large onion could become a meal. This appeared in Women's Institute collections as a recommended light supper for people who worked late. Slice an onion thinly. Fry slowly in butter or dripping until soft and golden brown, about 8 minutes. Meanwhile, toast bread and cut thick slices of cheese. Place the fried onions on the toast. Lay cheese on top. The heat from the onions begins melting the cheese. Eat immediately. Onions provided vitamins and fibre. The cheese gave protein and calcium. The bread added energy. But more than nutrition, this provided satisfaction. The long, slow cooking of the onions released their sweetness. This transformed cheap ingredients into something that felt indulgent. That caramelized onion sweetness. The melting cheese. The rich, savoury combination. Working women made this for themselves on late evenings, taking 10 minutes to make something that felt special. This was not poverty food. This was treating yourself well within a small budget. Today we buy caramelized onion chutney in jars for £3. Your grandmother made her own in 8 minutes using a 3p onion. Same result. Better control, less money.